If you are working at any school, anywhere, there has been a time or there have been multiple times ongoing where you are having issues with sleep. And so I have a special guest here today who is going to give us some tips on what we can do to take care of that. I have Dr. Robin Scott of Sleepwell RX Prescription, who is here. She has 20 years of experience as a clinical pharmacist. She's dedicated her career to understanding the relationship between holistic health and sleep. And she is recognized for her extensive knowledge in pharmacotherapy. Dr. Robin has transitioned into the realm of sleep health, driven by a passion to help professional women achieve optimal rest and wellness. So, welcome, Dr. Scott. I'm so happy that you're here. Can you tell viewers a little bit about what made you make that shift to help women with sleep?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. So thank you. Like I said, I've been a clinical pharmacist for about 20 years. And one of the things that would always come to us, they would always come to us to ask us various questions about what things they should take over the counter to help them with various issues. One thing they were always coming to us about was sleep. And we had various over the counter things that we could always point them to. But after we would point them to that, they would come back later and tell us, I had some bad side effects from that. It just didn't work, or it worked too good. And I was sleepy for days at a time. And so that really got me to thinking of what can we do naturally. And so we started kind of helping them to really get on a more natural path so that they weren't dependent on these OTCs that really weren't that great and effective for them. Personally, for me, I'd always slept good until I got to a point about 7 or 8 years ago where life was lifing for me. I was going through a divorce at the time. My dad died in the middle of the divorce. I had quit a job and started a new one. I was having issues with my son in school. It was just a lot was going on. And one thing had always depend on previously to that was being able to go to sleep. And all of a sudden, I lost that ability. And like a lot of people, I went to the doctor and got, the regular pills they give you. And I was all of a sudden being able to relate to those same, customers and clients who would come to us in the drugstore saying, yeah, you showed me the pills, but I'm having bad side effects. I was groggy and I felt really like I was becoming dependent on them. So I had to really look back into what are the natural ways that we get to sleep. I think one of the issues we've had during probably our modern times is that we have lost, it's like a skill set to be able to sleep. And we've lost that skill set. So today I'm able to bring that to a lot of professionals, educators like yourselves, teachers. I come from a long line of teachers myself. So being able to really help them to prioritize getting that rest so that they can wake up and feel energized and rejuvenated to really carry out all the plans they have for their day and for their life.
Okay, thank you so much. And I really love what you said about coming up with a plan or strategy to get on track with sleep. I did not introduce myself. My name is Giovanna May Reese, and I'm a life simplification strategist. And I help women keep things simple and focus on the things that matter in their life, especially my teachers, assistant principals, and principals. I've got 20 years of experience in education, and I walked away from a six-figure principal position to teach on the island of Borneo. And so that's my story. And I help people keep things simple. And one of the simplest things that we should be able to do is sleep. But for a variety of reasons, a lot of us can't. I'm like you, Dr. Scott, in that it's easy for me to go to sleep. I'm one of those people who can sleep in a day. I can sleep sitting up in a chair. But I know a lot of people, I know a lot of people who cannot. And I have had fellow admin, fellow counselors even, who are taking medication that isn't working particularly well. And so I think this is an important message. And so can you explain the role of a sleep health coach and the importance of sleep for overall health, particularly for educators?
Definitely, definitely. I think educators juggle so much going on. And so really to really educate the students of various ages, whether you're actually in the teacher in the classroom doing, I worked with a reading coach once, the assistant principal and the principal and the counselors. You really have to have that good sleep every night so that you can wake up refreshed, ready for the students. So some of the things, some of the negative things they may see if they're sleep deprived, they won't, have the creativity. I know as a teacher, you probably have to be creative at the drop of a hat sometimes with various issues going on. So that they definitely will lack that creativity, that spark to be able to really deal with the students. They have to engage with the students so much as educators. So that engagement is, down. They have to communicate with the parents, their colleagues, with everyone. And so you're not able to communicate as effectively. I think we've all heard of people who wake up cranky on the wrong side of the bed. That's an old saying we've heard, because when we don't get that sleep, we actually, become more irritable, moody, and we're already in this kind of high energy, environment with the children, that we need to be able to have stable emotional and stable nervous systems. The sleep definitely helps with that. As a sleep health coach, one of the first things I do is just really educating people. Basically, from all my posts, I just provide that for free, just really giving it all the way so that they can see how that will work for them. And those who are interested in working with me actually do an evaluation with them first. So we kind of evaluate where they're at in their sleep, what time they're getting to sleep, what time they're waking up. Are they waking up throughout the night and not able to get back to sleep? We look at all of those things. And then I come up with a personalized plan. I'm serve as an accountability partner to make sure that they're working on that plan. And then after that, we actually do any modifications and issues we have that come up to really solidify the plan so that they can get that rest.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And so let's see, you talked about the things that can show up for teachers, for counselors, in terms of what happens when they're not getting good sleep, they're not able to communicate, they're not able to be present, they're not able to be creative. And so in your experience, what are some ways that educators can adjust their sleep habits, or is that even the first place to start, to manage the stress and the workload?
I learned this from a mentor that says, what gets scheduled gets done. And if you don't schedule things, it doesn't get done. So I think I mentioned both of my parents were teachers, my grandmothers were teachers. I even had a great grandparent that was a teacher. And what I love about teachers, I feel a little intimidated too by it because they're very organized. So one of the things I would really highly encourage from them is really just like they're prioritizing their lesson plans, when they're going to grade homework, when they're going to evaluate the quiz, when they're going to make up the text, are they actually scheduling in rest for themselves? So that can look like, they have a power down hour in the evening. Say if they go to bed around 10 o'clock, from 9 to 10, schedule that. And that'll look for different ways. I think I talked to you once. I use an old fashioned, tried and true, you called it, schedule or a calendar. But some people love Notion, Google Calendar, whatever type of calendar you're using, schedule. I go to sleep at 10, and this is my quiet hour from 9 to 10. So what schedule gets done? If you just say, oh, I'll get to it whenever, then that's when it'll get done. Never, right? Whenever that comes. And so I'd like to really start there, put that in the schedule, and then we work back from there. So then we look at what type of environment they're sleeping in. I had a client recently who had a really beautiful bedroom, but she had like a red wall. And she found herself really hard to really calm down. Now, it was very pretty and artistic and creative, but your bedroom should really be a calming, soothing oasis without jarring, really harsh colors like that. One of the rules of thumb for colors for your bedroom is just the colors, the natural skin colors of humans. So our, tans, our beiges, just those natural colors, those tend to be our most soothing colors to sleep. So we look at all of that, their sleep environment, if they're using, a lot of polyester. I just did a video, a short where I was shopping, and it took me a long time to find. Now, I wasn't a discount store, so that maybe that's you get what you pay for.
Was
But
it TJ Maxx?
yes. And I was just seeing just polyester, poly. I wasn't finding just regular cotton. And that's why I didn't want even the fancy Egyptian cotton. I just wanted 100% plain cotton. And that's a more breathable fabric, and we're able to sleep better with using that. So I like to look at their bedding, their mattresses, their pillows. So we look at all of that. What type of movement are they getting throughout the day? As educators, you all are pretty lucky. You all have a job where you tend to stand a lot. You're moving, children to children. So you all are pretty lucky to getting that movement. So we really don't have a whole lot of stationary issues with that. But definitely mindful eating. Are you getting those breaks to, get good eating in? It's hard sometimes to get good hydration in. So just scheduling all of those things can really make a big difference in the sleep.
Okay, you offered so much information there. Thank you. And so I want to go back to what you were saying about scheduling sleep. And for me, I am a person who has the sleep schedule of like an 80-year-old woman. I go to sleep at like, I get in bed by 8 o'clock. and then I'm up. And then I'm up, and it's scheduled, and luckily I have a partner who is on the same schedule.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and you saying that lets me know that you have clients who maybe don't have that option because their partner is on a different schedule. Do you have any tips for, let's say someone is working with you and they are working through all of these tips, but then their partner is on a completely different schedule?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's awesome. Kudos to you and your husband. I love that. Y'all are the same schedule. There are different chronotypes. And that's just a fancy word for some people are night owls. Some people are kind of like evening owls, and some people are just on the regular schedule. So I would first of all just kind of evaluate which chronotype which person is in a couple situation, and have both people respect that and not really don't do anything derogatory towards the other person's chronotype. Respect the other person's chronotype and have some boundaries in place. Like I said, my parents were teachers for over 30 years, and my dad was definitely a later night owl, but he knew the boundaries were in place for if one of my mom's friends called it, like, because they were like you, she was like you at 8 o'clock. Like her pajamas are on usually by 7. She's in the bed at 8 and knocked out by 9. So there were setting boundaries. Oh, your friend called last night, and she would thank him. Thank you for not waking me. Thank you. So both of the couples, I think, having those boundaries in place and respecting each other's chronotypes will definitely make for a soothing sleep for both people.
Yeah, that is so important to set those boundaries. And that's one of the things that I work with my clients with, is setting boundaries with their work and in their personal life. And it is so important to convey to the other person that this is not, especially if it's, your boyfriend, your husband, this isn't about me not wanting to spend time with you. This is about me wanting to rest up so that I can be the best version of myself day in and day out, which I can't do if I'm cranky because I did not get sleep.
Exactly. Right? Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. 100%. Yep.
Yeah. You also mentioned not sleeping on polyester. So
yes.
What is the best fabric for people to be using for sheets and pillows and stuff?
The best fabrics would be natural fabric. So cotton's a natural fabric, linen's a natural fabric. I think, silk is a natural fabric. It's crazy expensive, but silks. So you want to look at natural, non-synthetic fabrics that allow your skin to breathe throughout the night. And those will definitely help you to get a better night's sleep. Yeah. Also look at, the age of pillows. I have some clients here. I've had this pillow for years and years, when you really should change out your pillow every 6 to 12 months, sometimes sooner thereafter. We secrete, I think there was a recent study that showed how many dead skin cells we slough off every day. It's like 70 million. It's some outrageous number that you would be totally grossed out by. But it really stands to say, if you've had a pillow for years after years and you haven't changed that out, you will actually that you will sleep better. I think we all have that experience when we put fresh sheets on the bed. We're like, oh, I really slept good with those fresh sleep sheets. And that's because we're, getting rid of those dead skin cells. We've cleaned those off. And because those will actually hamper our sleep. So definitely having, the cleanest bedding possible. I've even done a challenge with some clients, changing the sheets a few times a week, and they found that they slept so much better. So definitely, yeah, using the natural fibers, non-synthetic, clean that you've changed out, and those will definitely help you get to sleep. Yeah.
And it's I was online and I saw there was a conversation about someone who mentioned how often they wash their bathroom towels, and that led to a conversation, or really it was how little this person washed their bathroom towels. Yes. And so that led to a conversation in the comments about how often people change their sheets. And so it was found like a lot of people don't change their sheets as often as you would think they would. So how often would you suggest people wash their sheets, not just for hygiene, but
them out, minimum once a week. And if you want to do some trials, you can do it more often and, get some sets, treat yourself to, some Marshalls or TJ Maxx, 100% cotton. So it's affordable, yet, you're getting some nice quality, but minimum once per week. Yeah.
Okay, yes, people, let's get those dead skin cells out of the bed so that our skin can breathe, for sure. Now, what about with temperature? Because I know some people like to sleep very cold and then some people don't. And I know I've read studies showing that you should sleep a certain temperature between X hour and X hour. And then if you have a thermostat that you can set, you should start making it rise. I don't know. So in your expert opinion, what should people be doing with their temperature?
So in the evening, like I think the temperature range is like from 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a big range. Like I tend to like things warmer. I notice some of my clients, especially some of my male clients, they really like it really cold at night and they tend to sleep better. So that's going to differ from person to person. There's actually some mattresses that will heat up and cool down different sides of the bed. So if you're a couple, you have a partner, one side of the bed can be a little bit warmer while the other side is a little bit cooler. Built in, but your body naturally goes through this through the night. One of the myths is if you wake up during the night, you have a problem with sleeping and insomnia. That's not an issue unless you can't get back to sleep. It's actually normal to wake up once or twice during the night. And it's usually a temperature regulation issue in your body that's going on. So if you do have the ability to, do a remote control regulation of your thermostat or set it, that is a great idea. If you don't have that, as long as you do turn the heat down, usually 65 is way too cold for me, but I know my son loves 65. He's in heaven with that. I like it turned down to about 70 for myself personally. So it's going to differ from person to person. Definitely experiment with that. But we tend to sleep better with those lower temperatures than we do during the daytime.
Yes, living in a tropical environment in Borneo where I'm not able to set it on a timer, I have definitely had to experiment with that temperature for sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. So in your opinion, working with professional women, how do you think institutional or work attitudes about rest and self-care affect educators' sleep, and what kind of methods can they use to kind of navigate that? For example, with teaching, it's it's a lot of people say a calling. And when you have a
Mhm.
position that's called a calling, I find that it sometimes opens the door for people to take advantage
Yes.
and to take advantage of your heart for kids or your heart for making change, to put more upon you and to
Mhm.
take away that ability to self care. So, what are some things that you recommend to professional women who are in environments where the work is work, work, work?
That's a really good question because I think that whole calling thing, people have the perception that this is a culture perceived where you're just accessible nonstop, 24/7. Like I can text my teacher, at 7 p.m., at 2 a.m., I could turn an assignment. So really getting back to those boundaries once again. It was a really funny story. When COVID hit, my son was in middle school, and him and his friends, they were like turning in homework at all times of the night, like midnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And their teacher sent home a letter, was like, this is unacceptable. Because she had a thing on her phone where it would go off every time they turned in homework. And they were like 12 years old. They really weren't thinking. But she
Hmm.
let the parents know and the children know that I have a cutoff time. I don't care if you're waking up at 1 a.m. because you're scared of corona. You cannot come in here turning in, homework to me at those times. So really having boundaries. There also is you just brought this up, a stigmatized about self-care. Well, this is your calling. You're supposed to be, bending over backwards, forwards, and sideways, all types of ways. And not prioritizing your self-care because you love the kids so much. It's like I can love the kids so much and love me as well. So
Hmm.
that's I would definitely encouraging for all the educators really focusing on self-care and not just self-care Sunday. I love self-care Sunday. I even post about it. But what are you doing daily for your self-care, weekly for your self-care, monthly, even quarterly and yearly? You should have those built into your schedule. I like my self-care to be that power down hour, and I encourage educators. You no longer looking at that email. You've turned that phone off. That hour before bed, you're doing something relaxing, soothing to power down, and really just setting those boundaries for themselves. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes, yes, yes. And one of the things that I found helpful that I did years ago
Mhm.
was I set up a either I would not have school email on my phone. So there was
That's
no
smart.
option for anyone to contact me. If it was important, you would call me.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm not going to get it until business hours. The
Mhm.
other thing that I do now is I just turn off the notifications.
That's
So if you've got a sleep schedule set on your iPhone, you can set the time where no notifications will come through, which is especially helpful for
yeah.
me since I'm in Southeast Asia. My mom
You're on such
sometimes.
a different time zone, and your
Uh-huh.
people back home in America forget. Yes, I could totally see
Hmm.
that. I could see. So
Hmm.
that's smart, Giovanna.
Yeah,
Excellent.
so I tell my mom and my dad, I'm like, you can text me anytime you want to, because if I'm asleep, I won't get it until I
I
wake
won't be.
up. So
And that's
don't
smart. And we
worry.
have to communicate. And this is an old saying, we have to train people, even our close family and friends, how to treat us. And so that's awesome. You have that understanding. That's great.
Definitely all about the boundaries and communicating them.
Yeah.
So um, let's see. Can you talk to me about the tools, any tools or apps or resources that you recommend? We kind of just talked about some things with the phone, but are there any other particular things that you recommend for educators to monitor, improve their sleep, and just anything related to sleep?
Yeah, definitely. Most of the people who come to me, and I think especially having a firsthand seat with educators, they are coming with stress-induced insomnia. So really looking at some apps, like there's an app called the Calm app. And it really is a meditation app, and it gives guided exercises as well. So really, ultimately, decreasing the stress level by doing a lot of meditation activities, guided activities as well. There's another app called 10% Happier, which is a mindfulness app. And so this is going to, guide you through deep breathing exercises, doing deep relaxation exercises. So we can't get rid of our stress 100%. I wish I could wave a magic wand. I'd get rid of mine, your, everyone's. We can't, but we can learn to manage it and heavily decrease it. So those are a couple of apps. Some of the trackers, I like clients, I kind of like to do habit stacking. So if they're already doing something with their diet, hydration, we'll just add on to that. If they're using the Notion app for things, if they're just using a calendar where they can track things, I have them track in there. Fitbit also has a good sleep tracker on there. Garmin has some things, and there's a Kiora ring that'll kind of look at and measure your sleep during the night and see if, if you're waking up and issues with that and how long you're getting to sleep. So those
Yeah,
are
my
some.
husband has that.
Oh yeah, that's really popular. People love that, and it really tells them, gives them really good information.
Yeah, those are great apps. I use Sleep Cycle, and Sleep Cycle records your sleep. It also records your snoring. There was a time when I was very overweight and unhealthy due to stress of being an administrator, and it caused me to snore like a freight train. And so, for better or for worse, that app recorded it, and so I could see when I
So
was
you can see what was
snoring,
going
what it
on.
sounded like. Yeah, and I actually ended up going in to be evaluated for
Sleep apnea,
yeah,
is it?
sleep apnea. Yeah. And so I was able to export reports from that app to give to the doctor that they took into account when they did the test for sleep apnea, which I did not have. And now my
Good.
snoring, my husband has reported that my snoring has just about disappeared. So
Oh,
that
that's
is good.
awesome. That's awesome. And usually when people find that they start managing their weight better, they can they'll won't be snoring as much. So that's awesome. That's fantastic. Good.
Definitely. And then also, I wanted to say that the mindfulness and the breathing is helpful as well. That's one of the things that I've done in the past few years is to get a yoga mindfulness certification. And I recently became certified as a breath coach. And it is one of those things that I use with my clients to help with stress and also to help with sleep, and then to help with just regulation,
Oh,
just
that's awesome. I have to have you on
regulating.
my channel to talk about that. I love breath work. Yes, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it's been fantastic. Okay. And so when you have people coming to you, and you said that it usually with educators is stress induced insomnia. That made me wonder what kinds of other insomnia are there that other people might be suffering from?
Yeah, there are some rare genetic issues where people have really just bad insomnia. There's other like sleep disorder. There's something called restless leg syndrome. So I usually go over some of these different things when I'm asking and doing the assessment. I ask them, are your legs hurting when you wake up? Has someone observed you like you're running in your sleep?
Mhm.
And there's various medications and so forth they can use that. You talked about sleep apnea. I also ask people, are you gasping for breath when you wake up? Has someone witnessed you? And a lot of times people don't know. I have to ask them,
Mhm.
has someone witnessed and heard you, just really snoring really loud? And what's that like? So those are some of the major issues. There's some other sleep disorders like narcolepsy, where it's just the opposite of insomnia, where people just kind of instantly falling asleep. They'll at 10 a.m. after a great night's sleep, they're about to pass out again. So there's different levels of narcolepsy as well. So there's a whole bunch of sleep disorders, to the fact that where there's very specific physicians when it gets really serious, where someone's falling asleep behind the wheel and really can be endangering their lives and others,
Mm.
being
Mhm.
referred to a sleep medicine doctor. So there's physicians who do whole residencies and fellowships in nothing but sleep medicine for really a lot of those serious
Oh,
cases.
wow. Wow. So you've worked with a lot of people, you've helped a lot of people with their sleep issues. Can you share a success story where improving sleep had a huge impact on someone and the way that they were interacting with work and with life?
Yeah, yeah. It's actually a recent educator I had. She's a reading coach in public schools here, and she has children, and she's married. She has 3 kids, and so she's really just trying to juggle all of that together with her dedication to her students, with the dedication to her husband and her children as well. So one of the things we really did, and like I said, I love this about teachers already, just hyper, just very, very organized, just super organized. I said, you already have this organization in place. Let's get your sleep in place. And one of the things, her mindset, so we have to start with the mindset first. Her mindset was really that sleep is a luxury.
Mhm.
And I had to really work with her to understand that sleep is a necessity. It's not a luxury. And she had high blood pressure. She was on like 3 different hypertension medications. And so once we kind of made that correlation, she really understood, okay, I got to get my sleep together to get my health together. So we worked on that. Luckily, she was like you. Her husband and her were on the same, the chronotype schedule. So they both go to bed about 10 p.m. But she wasn't doing a power down hour. He was kind of doing a man cave hour where about 9 or so, he would kind of man cave it and sit on the couch and lounge. But she
Mhm.
was up getting ready for the next day doing stuff. I said, no, you need to have a power down hour. And what that means is you're doing relaxation. So I recommended to her, she would do like a Sunday bath because that was a treat for her. I said, do a bath every night. And she would use magnesium flakes. It's a little bit different from the
Mhm.
magnesium that you get at the health food store. Actually, it is the health food store. It's different from the one you would get like at your local Walgreens. You would get Epsom salts from them,
Mhm.
but magnesium flakes. You get those at Whole Foods, all your different health food places, and it's very, very relaxing. And so I just really worked with her to really center herself during this hour. So we got the husband to delegate. She's delegating him to help get the kids ready for bed at night, check their homework, while she is powering down during her magnesium bath. She adds aromatherapy in there, some lavender oils, some other different types of oils, just to relax. Additionally, she was working out in the evenings. If you work out in the evenings, you're going to really decrease your melatonin, and you're going to increase your cortisol, which should not be done in the evenings. So I was like, you can do gentle stretches. So we just really worked on getting a really good bedtime routine and centering her power down hour, staying consistent with this, being an accountability partner for her. She was also guilty of doing like doom scrolling. I call that just scrolling, before bed. Ideally, you should get those electronics away from you about an hour or so before. The blue light from our laptops, our cell phones, our tablets, it actually inhibits the production of melatonin, which is our major hormone for getting to sleep. So I had her put those away. So really, it was just kind of a lifestyle change for her to get on board, for her to delegate activities to the husband to help out, to really get on board with centering herself into a daily self-care, not waiting to Sunday self-care, daily self-care, getting that gentle movement. She still wanted to do some movement, so we did some stretchings in the evening. I'm happy to have you on to talk about the breathing because she really got great results from the deep breathing exercises. So those are some of the great success stories we had with her.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so you just mentioned a lot of tips that educators can use
Mhm.
to help with getting better sleep and showing up as the best version of themselves in their lives. What would you say is the number one tip, the first thing, or the most important thing that educators should focus on?
I would say educators definitely focus on that balance, understanding that just because you have a love, we already talked about a love for the children, you have a love for your self-care as well, prioritizing yourself. The people around you aren't mind readers, so you're going to have to communicate that to them as you do your delegation, and realize that sleep is not a luxury. It is something we need. It's a core basis for our health, and not just our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health. Some even say even our spiritual health. That's probably a whole nother topic, but it's the core basis for our health. And so understanding that and prioritizing that, making sure that what's you schedule gets done, and just definitely making it a priority in your life.
Yeah, and I find that for, educators and women in general, it's so easy for us to um, try to take care of everyone else, and we're always last on the list.
Everybody is first. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I was working with a client recently who talked about um, the fact that she wasn't getting sleep, she wasn't taking care of herself, and she found herself feeling resentful of the people she cared about, resentful of her job, resentful of, kids or husband when they need something. It's like, I've already done all of this stuff and I'm still needed. And so we worked through that, and I got her to see, and she, came to it on her own through questioning, like she needed to sleep, delegate, and take care of herself so that she could be the best
Yeah.
version of herself, so that she could bring the right energy and who she truly is to work and to her kids and to her husband.
Yeah.
You just cannot do that when you are not rested. Rest is a necessity, as you have said,
Yeah.
not a
Very.
luxury, it's a necessity.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how people who are interested can work with you.
Sure, sure. Well, I'm here also on YouTube. Sleep Well RX, Robin Scott Farm D. So definitely they can get a lot of education from some of the YouTube videos. I also have a freebie offering today. So they can get a free sleep kit. It's a starter kit that has amazing tips in it to really get you started, not next week, not next month, not, next year, tonight, getting the good sleep that you need. We talked about the power down hour. So I give really great ideas and tips for that. I included some fun smoothies that have natural melatonin in it. So they'll be able to have some really good natural melatonin recipes. And there's a quick quiz in there to see in terms of how serious your insomnia is. Maybe it's just very lightweight. Maybe it's something super serious. So that quiz will kind of give you some
Mhm.
insight.
Okay, and so that information is scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and that will also be in the description on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So thank you to those of you who have watched that. Um, so you'll be able to download her freebie, which I highly recommend that you do because she has some great education and some great tips. If you're looking for ways to simplify not just your sleep, but if you're looking for ways to simplify your life, please head over to JavonnaMayReese.com and download The Art of Simplifying Your Life. There's some great strategies in there on setting boundaries, coping mechanisms, looking at your values, things that you need to take into account as you are trying to shed all of those things that do not serve you. So if you haven't already, now, or if you're watching this in the future, hello, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel for more tips, tricks, strategies on ways that you can simplify your life so that you can focus on the things that truly matter. And I want to say thank you again to Dr. Scott for being here and sharing this wealth of knowledge. Please follow her on all the socials. Please download her lead magnet. You will not regret it because she is a wealth of information. So,
Well, thank you for having me, Giovanna. Thank you so much.
of course, of course. And we will see you next time, everybody.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.